Hello, everyone. Hey, so we just got done doing an interview with Sergeant Pat Moody. Amazing person, uh, great interview in my opinion, and just somebody who's extremely passionate about the shooting sports in general. He's got a really bright future ahead of him, and we really hope you enjoy this. Frank, what do you got?
Yeah, so Pat was really my first introduction at the 2021 MIC and 22 MIC. He was the rifle instructor for both of those. Got a chance to squad with him at this last championships, and he's legitimately like you say, oh, he's a great guy about a lot of guys, but Pat legitimately is a great person. Very enthusiastic, very good at taking coaching, learns really quickly, and is just a good person to be around. And I can personally attest to that. I agree. I think he's got great things ahead of him. A little bit of conversation here about transitioning out of the Marine Corps. I don't think that really gets talked about a whole lot, despite how complex and daunting, honestly, that process is. But I'm glad that conversation came up, especially between you and him. You guys are both going through similar obstacles right now.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback off of that, yeah, we didn't have an episode come out last week. Like, you know, Frank just moved up here to Virginia. I've been going through transition stuff. Our schedules have just been extremely packed. We're gonna do our best in keeping them on a weekly basis, but just know if like there's a miss of an interview one week, it's because we do have some things going on in our lives, and we really do enjoy this, so we try and make every effort that we can to put these episodes out.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to stay as consistent as possible, but when push comes to shove, Matt's got to focus on life after the Marine Corps, and I had to focus on getting all my belongings up here and taking care of my wife and all that. So plenty of great content in the following weeks coming from us. I'm about to participate in a lot of the pistol teams summer season. I'm very excited for it. Did some training sessions with them this week. So I'm excited for the content that we're about to bring to you guys.
So we hope you enjoy this episode, and we'll talk to you next week.
Shooters ready. Stand by.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 3G IQ podcast. I'm joined here today with Frank Gow, as well as Pat Moody. So today we're interviewing Pat. He is a member of the Marine Corps Rifle Team, Infectious Personality. He's very outspoken, but in a positive manner. Anytime he walks into a room, everybody starts smiling. Just an overall good dude, and good person. We're blessed to have him on the team. And so, Pat, if you could go ahead and take it and talk about yourself, your MOS, where you came from, and some of your accolades and achievements.
Yeah, absolutely. Just want to say thank you both for having me here on the podcast. When you asked me, I was pretty stoked. I've been listening to the podcast and I was hearing about it, and so getting a chance to be on here is awesome. So I was raised in New Hampshire. Growing up, I kind of gravitated towards firearms. My wasn't a gun in the house until I asked for one for Christmas, and so I guess growing up, I was kind of hoping that one day I'd get that chance to really, get behind a gun and see what I can do. So, joined the Marine Corps in 2016, right out of high school. I ended up getting stationed out in Hawaii with 3rd Radio Battalion. Did a deployment to the Philippines from there. Enjoyed my time. Made a lot of good friends out there. A lot of good connections, and then was lucky enough when I got back from that deployment to participate with MIC Pacific. and go and get a chance to shoot there. At the time, the MICMICs were organized primarily around, action shooting. So going into it, I hadn't even qualified with a pistol yet in the Marine Corps. I shot a handgun a handful of times and took what the instructors said to heart. I to this day, Sergeant or Corporal Marquis at the time and Sergeant Adams from the pistol team. Like I remember sitting there during every lunch break and just taking anything they would talk to me about, and ended up placing fourth in pistol, earning my way to championships while I was out there. Felt like I made a couple good impressions on the right people at the time, and towards the tail end was told like, hey, sounds like they're wanting to interview you. And I feel like I kind of stumbled a little bit from each place, like when I was told like, hey, you want to shoot MIC Pacific, I hadn't really heard of the program very much. When I shot it, I didn't know that if I medaled, I would be invited to championships. And when I went to championships, I didn't know that I could stay for the summer season, let alone, eventually being asked to come permanently. So, when I talk to people about it, I like to say it was a little bit of luck and, making just right impressions at the right times and performing when I needed to. So, started my summer season there in 2019, and it was really awesome crew that we had that year. A lot of people that took us young guys under their wing and, showed us the sport of high power rifle shooting, which I had never really experienced before. It was something that, on the rifle range for ART, you get a taste of that bullseye shooting. But, this was the way they described it was, that was NASCAR. This is F1. You're really stepping up the weapons performance. And so now, if the gun can hold a quarter minute, what can you hold? And you're up against the best shooters in the world, especially the Army Marksmanship Unit, who, competes internationally and sees great success, even in the Olympics. And so as a summer shooter, quite a bit of pressure on you to do well. And so I felt that pressure going into it, but I feel like that's something that helped me really thrive too. And I think that's something that you kind of need in this community is when the pressure's on, when the timer goes off in action shooting or in rifle, when the timer goes and your target comes up, like being able to use that to propel yourself towards, success. That's pretty much my kind of journey to the team that summer season. About halfway through, they asked me if I would come permanently. And at the time, I was either going to go back to my unit and do one more rotation out to the Philippines and probably be looking at getting out, or, I could undertake what has turned out to be, one of the greatest experiences of my life.
So would you say attitude has kind of really played a huge part in keeping a positive attitude, really played a huge part in you coming to the team? I mean, obviously, talent and being able to perform on demand is a huge aspect, but would you say that having that positive attitude and just making friends along the way helped out as well?
Absolutely. For championships is a great example of that. I was, a little about middle of the pack in rifle and pretty abysmal at bullseye pistol. But, I always kept a good attitude about it. Even when pistol wasn't going well, I still, told myself to try my hardest because, I feel like it doesn't matter how bad you're doing. It's just, if you can continue to recover and ultimately, have a good time, because, bullseye is a sport where, you can leave the 200-yard line after shooting your standing, and you could have dropped enough points that you're not even close to succeeding that day. You might be way outside the medal bracket in your first 10 shots, but you still have to do 2 more yard lines and 3 more positions. And so, on those days, are you gonna, ball up your emotions and sit down in your chair and just try and, forget about the world? Or do you take the time to be like, okay, I can be more of an asset to my team today? There's guys out here that need help. Maybe I can jam someone's mags while they're trying to focus on what, something they're taking care of. talk to them about the wind and walk them through that. And so I feel like having that positive attitude and thinking about the team over your individual performance will help you anywhere in life, but especially in the shooting community and with the team.
So kind of leads me into my next question. So obviously, and those who don't know, like Pat hasn't been able to compete this season at all. Inter-service rifles going on right now, and he hasn't been able to compete. He's going through some health stuff as he's preparing to get out of the Marine Corps. But you have been in communication with the rifle team. So can you kind of tell everybody what the team's season has been like so far and how it's compared to other seasons from whenever you were shooting on the team?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in communication with their coach right now, Sergeant Austin Hill. He's awesome. He really stepped up and came to the team at a time when we needed him, where a lot of our permanent personnel that have a lot of that experience have been naturally rotating out and ending their time with the team. So, this season I would say is different than other seasons in the sense that there's less of that permanent personnel and summer shooter divide. The primary number of folks with the team right now, I'd say, is summer shooters, which I think can lend towards a tighter bond and a tighter knit team where and everyone kind of is starting from around the same place and learning together. And you have less of that divide of I don't want to say there was ever any like elitism or separation between permanent personnel on the team, but you just become a little more tight knit, I'd say. And from what I talked to them, they did a trip out to Tennessee a little while back, and now competing at inter-service. And the folks I've been shooting with the team for a number of years now are stepping up and really helping out the young guys, and the young guys are eating it up. That's something that the only thing you can really ask for from a summer shooter is their drive to get better. You're going to get them at whatever level they're at, and you can only take them as far as the time you have with them. But, I just heard from them the other day, one of our Lance Corporals, one of the, lowest ranking summer shooters I think we've ever, had. He put up a 198 out of 200 on his feet, which is something that, I've only ever done once. So,
and for those who are wondering what he means by on his feet, it's essentially shooting offhand at 200 yards, no support whatsoever besides a sling, and hitting a 6-inch bullseye target at 200 yards.
So 200 is a 3-inch bullseye.
Okay.
Ring.
Yep.
So it's a pretty incredible feat to be able to shoot 1x, let alone put up a score like a 198. And I think he was only beat out by one or two of the AMU shooters even. So even when you have less permanent personnel on the team, like it always seems like the summer shooters manage to step it up and really put up some great numbers.
Well, it's really cool to see like some of the summer shooters like Captain Jared Proctor and then Gunny Ramu. I saw some updates on them, and it's like they not only set some records for themselves in their own performance because things just kind of clicked, but also they ended up, I think, taking a first, second, and third placement at Oak Ridge. I don't remember exactly, but I remember seeing the post on it, but I know it was something along those lines. But I talked to Captain Proctor whenever he came back, and he was like, dude, it seemed like everything just clicked the way it needed to, and processes just occurred, and I was able to set my own records and milestones. And that's pretty impressive, for a guy coming in the summer and not doing it permanently.
Absolutely. And bullseye is a pretty foreign sport for people that are experiencing it for the first time. You get into a shooting jacket and you get your sling on that you might loop sling that you might not have ever experienced before. And the name of the game with bullseye is consistency. And the only way to build consistency is repetitions. And so when you've never done it before, and now you only get a chance of about 4 or 5 months before you head to nationals, and you have to compete on the national level or inter-service and compete against the best, military shooters in the country. It's pretty difficult to build that consistency that you need to be successful. So it's awesome to see it when, summer shooters can put it together and, do really well on, whether it's a 500 point aggregate or, just 1 yard line, because it really shows their dedication to the sport.
I wasn't expecting to hear Jared Proctor's name. Him and I were lieutenants together in Miramar back in like 2015. So
He's an awesome dude. I love that guy.
Yeah, good for him. Glad he became a summer augment. I want to pull out something that you talked about, Pat. You talked about dropping too many points at the 200 and knowing that you weren't going to be competitive, but then your mindset shifts to like, how can I support my teammates? Because ultimately you are on a team, and that's what it's all about. You kind of remind me of like a month after I ended up tearing my Achilles, and Sam Nelson and Ben Faust, they kept shooting matches, and they're like, "You sure you still want to go?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll drive." And they're like, "But your ankle?" I was like, "Well, it's my left ankle. I drive with my right foot. It's not going to be a big deal." But I still went, and I ran the tablet. I couldn't really chase after shooters. It was kind of freeing in a way. I would just be able to sit there and talk through like stage plans, and I'd be able to focus on other shooters and just kind of diagnose like what they were doing. And I'd get a lot of comments like Raider said something to that effect when I was out in Florida in January. He's like, "You saw you're injured and like kind of sucks." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, but what's the alternative? That I sit home alone and I just miss doing the thing that I love." So good on you for having that mindset, man. And I think that's definitely made you successful in a lot of ways. Speaking of success, so we shot together in championships in April. And what I saw from you is I saw a huge stride in terms of like action shooting, right? I saw that Sam Nelson was coaching you a little bit and that you're taking in a lot of that coaching. So what helped you make that transition into action shooting? And would you say any skill sets from like high power rifle transitions into action or vice versa?
Yeah, I initially came to the team because of my performance with action pistol. So, I've always been interested in it, and it's something that when I got to the team, I wanted to make sure I took the opportunity while I was around the best shooters I'm probably ever going to know to pick their brains and get all the information I could. And championships is an awesome time for that because, with the reintroduction of Bullseye, we had a lot of the guys on the team that needed to learn how to shoot that sport. And it kind of gave me that leverage to be like, "Hey, I'll help you with Bullseye. You help me with, pistol or rifle action." And, I think with a lot of things in life, as long as you have that drive and the will to learn something, there's people out there that want to teach. Sam Nelson is a great example. We're both from the 2600 signals intelligence field. So we kind of, when he came to the team, it was I felt already a connection to him. We got squatted together for championships, and the weeks running up to it, we were on the range together, going through pistol, and he was teaching me all the stuff that he could. It's just, with the people on the team, we're all instructors first, in my opinion. It's like we compete in order to instruct the Marine Corps. So these guys are just the best, and being able to pick their brains, it's no brainer that I've been able to get better. It's more I'd attribute to their ability to instruct than mine, to learn, because they're just awesome at it. And then, with the skills from high power, it's funny, once I kind of, started the high power sport, how many aspects of my life I've noticed start using techniques I use in high power. Just kind of a goofy example. I was playing cornhole the other day, and I had a pre-shot routine for my cornhole throw, little things like that put you in the right mindset. And so when I was about to run a stage, I would kind of try and put myself in that same mindset that I would before I would shoot, a yard line during Bullseye. And just kind of calming yourself down, get your heart rate down, and putting the plan into autopilot and letting your, just focusing on the shots that you're taking and not so much, maybe like, the footwork and the transitions and the reloads, letting all those kind of be automatic functions as you go through the stage. Hopefully that's what, but I always, have a difficult time on the first stage and then kind of ease into it from there. My first stage at championships, I did 2 reloads. And there were not enough targets to warrant 2 reloads, trust me. So, but it's after that I took a step back and talked with Staff Sergeant Rader and with Nelson, and they're like, hey man, at least the reloads look good. And that little positivity to kind of help me recover from there and keep trying.
So what's changed in the way that you view shooting from when you first joined the team to now?
Man, it's pretty crazy that like when I first started getting into shooting as a kid, it was like a bolt action 22, and I joined the Marine Corps, and the rifle range wasn't exactly what I expected it to be. I don't know if anyone knows what to expect coming in, and then shooting my first MIC was, I feel like, the first time I really experienced dynamic, useful shooting. That was just I finally felt like I was doing something that was this is where it's at. This is what I should be learning. This is what's going to keep me alive one day. And so I'd say coming to the team, it was kind of like just this epiphany of this is where excellence shooting is. From the bullseye team with going back to the 1,000-yard line and putting multiple rounds into a 10-inch target. The bullseye at 1,000 is 10 inches. So it's, from that to the action side of, nailing down your draw to the point that, you're outperforming anyone else that you might run into. Like, that's just that mindset of like that excellence and that repetition it takes to get out there and get to that level. That's really what the team showed me, was that like, you can get to this incredible level, and it just takes the dedication. And being on the team gave me that opportunity to try and get to those levels, and ultimately, led to this last season with the team. We had our team win at the inter-service ITT, which is a really cool match, and then go up to nationals, and we won a long-range trophy match up there, which was just all those hours on the gun and the sweltering heat really finally coming together.
So this next question I have for you, it's a 2 to 3 part question. So, so you are getting out of the Marine Corps. So first I want to ask, do you have any advice for Marines getting out of the Marine Corps as you go through the transition process? Like, you and I are both getting out, and a lot of the times whenever it comes to getting out of the Marine Corps, people don't know because the people in charge have never gotten out themselves. So what kind of advice would you offer to people who are getting out of the Marine Corps? The second part to that question, what are your future plans after you're finally out and transitioned out? And then how does shooting factor into your plans once you're out of the Marine Corps?
So I'd say advice-wise, it's never too early to start thinking about your transition. I still kind of kick myself for waiting as long as I did. You always feel like you have plenty of time until you start looking at these timelines and like, all right, I'm 6 months out, and I'm supposed to have a list of things done already. So start early. I had some difficulty initially trying to get a hold of your unit will have a transition counselor now that's supposed to have been gone through some classes and will help you coordinate with your actual like transition counselor from the base. If you're having difficulty with coordinating with that person, getting a hold of them, maybe they're giving you a little bit of a runaround, I would encourage you to figure out where the actual base transition people work and stop in. They're probably really nice people, and on Marine Corps base Quantico they absolutely are. My counselor was trying to sign me up for TRS for an in-person class, and where I was at in my timeline, I wasn't eligible for in-person classes. I was needing to take online classes, and unfortunately, since he didn't know that, we missed like 2 in-person classes. He's trying to sign me up where I was losing like weeks at this point trying to figure this out. And eventually one day I just had enough and drove over there, figured out where they were, walked in, and the nicest people in the world that sat me down and helped me out and really started what hopefully is now going to be a successful transition now. So I'd say advice-wise is start early. Don't underestimate how much work there is that goes into it. And, if you need to talk to someone, like COVID kind of made it this whole, people want you to call and they don't want you to come into their office and stuff, but just figure out where they work and go give them a visit, because you're going to get so much better help in person when they can't just kind of blow you off. And I'm not saying people want to do that, but over a phone call, you're probably not going to get all the information that you need or wanted than, when you talk to someone in person. And finally, there's a great program for your VA disability, the BDD, where you can start within 180 to 90 days of getting out, which the BDD benefits delivered at discharge. It's supposed to be a program where you can actually step out of the Marine Corps and be receiving your VA disability, which will really help with that time of transition and that time of uncertainty where, a lot of Marines might not exactly know where their next, steady pay is going to come from. And it's at least your disability's done. You don't have to worry about doing appointments and running around in your hometown. You can do them all around your base that you're stationed at.
I'll add a bit of advice in there too. One thing I've learned is do not try and have this alpha male personality whenever you're trying to deal with people, because you're not going to get anywhere and people aren't going to want to help you. You need to, you need to be able to work with people, stay calm, and understand there's hundreds of Marines trying to get out. So they're dealing with people all the time. So you can't fault them if they can't get back to you right off the bat. Like Pat said, go in person, and they're going to be some of the nicest people that you could work with, and just talk to them in person. So next part, future plans.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm from New Hampshire, like I said earlier, and my wife is actually from California. So, we decided to pick a spot in the middle, which is most of the country. And we kind of ran through some needs and wants of what we wanted from a state we lived in, and ended up settling on Tennessee. Everyone I've ever talked to about Tennessee who's either lived there or been there has always recommended it and said it's beautiful. And we drove through it when we moved my wife out here to Virginia from California on our road trip. And we're both, really just excited to kind of start this next chapter. So be getting out, and the plan is to get out there and find some work to start out with so we can qualify for a mortgage and get into a house. We got a dog. His name's German Shepherd named Bjorn, and he hasn't had a yard now for about 2 years, and we feel like we owe it to him a little bit to get him a nice backyard that he can run around in. And so looking for some work there. We're going to start applications. We kind of have a timeline on that, and then transitioning into going to school for the spring semester of 2023. Both of us are planning to go to University of Tennessee, Knoxville. We're just really I've never been to college. I joined the Marine Corps right out of high school. So I'm really excited to do this and kind of pursue higher education. I really did enjoy learning in high school. There's a reason I ended up going into the Intel field. And so I'm excited to start that. My wife, she recently finished up her associate's degree in finance, and so now she's going to be going to finish up her bachelor's. And so that's kind of the next chapter here is going out to Knoxville and both of us starting back up school.
And do you still plan on continuing shooting competitions, or you want to bring it back to something like just going out to the range and having some fun?
I really do want to continue shooting competition wise. I think, something I talked about with the wife was, as I was, during this transition process, I've been kind of hit up by the Marine Corps Reserve team, asking tentatively, if I'd be interested in that. And then just thinking on my own, if I would want to go to competitions. And I think I want to get out and let the, sport kind of call me back, start getting that itch again to go out to the range. One thing that happens with the team kind of naturally is that it's, a lot of shooting in a pretty condensed period of time. And, I still love absolutely going out to the range and I love shooting. I just want to kind of take the time to do my transition right and, find my community once I get to Knoxville, find the range that's running the competitions and kind of just naturally fall into the fold of that. And ultimately, something I really enjoyed. My favorite thing about being on the team was instructing. And so, like, if I can get the opportunity to do, some firearm instruction, I would love to do that as well as competition.
Nice. No, I agree. I think I'm kind of gonna follow in suit of like what you're doing. Like that, competition and shooting is such a huge part of our lives. Like shoot, I'm hosting a podcast all about it with Frank, and I love it. But kind of like you, I think I'm gonna kind of enjoy the transition process and get out and actually take the time that I need with the family before I start, any other commitments. I'm lucky in the fact that I can go to the neighbor's property and we have a 700-yard range right there, a mile away from where I live. So if I feel the itch I need to shoot, I can go there. But I think, before I really start getting big and heavy into competition again, I want to make sure my entire life is in order, because like for all of us, like you'll serve close to 8 years, I'll be finishing a 20-year career. Like, this is what we know. And I think the smart thing is actually taking the time to not rush anything and doing things when you're absolutely ready to.
Absolutely.
All right, so this topic came up because I heard you say the word wicked while we're at championships, and I was like, that only shows up in one part of the country's vernacular, and that's the Northeast. So what words in the English language do you think draw out that New England accent the best?
So it's funny you mentioned it. There's definitely a handful of staples like like lobster, get that lobster,
Yeah.
car,
Water.
Oh yeah, water.
It's the aw sound. It's the aw sound that does it.
Oh, absolutely. Is that drawn out? I know one that I always did is I say orange instead of orange. I don't know if that's even New England at that point. Like,
yeah, my wife says she doesn't say room, she says rum. I don't know if that's a Northeast thing.
I don't. I feel like the thing in the Northeast is, some people are in such the hurry that we're just throwing words out there and hoping they, stick.
Yeah, I think go ahead, Matt.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I think my problem, because like my wife's from England and everything, is sometimes I'll just start throwing British phrases out there, and people are like, "What?" I was like, "Sorry, let me say it in American."
Yeah. All the idiomatic language. I think I'm a Californian, but I went to school in Boston, and I think the moment where it first hit me was something had happened. I was going to Emerson, so I was in the middle of the city in Boston, and something happened with the water supply, and the Boston Police Department was literally driving through the city with a megaphone, and they were saying, "I shit you not, it's the Boston Police Department. Please don't drink the water," like over and over again. And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, this was worth the price of tuition. This is something I wouldn't have gotten in California." So I've come to like it. I like the Northeast. Obviously, I'm married into a family from the Northeast. You don't have much of an accent though, Pat.
No, it feels like it kind of eroded away a little bit too with my time in service. And also picking up new phrases. I feel like that's like what Matt said is, you're around people enough that say like kind of particular phrases, and so I never grew up saying y'all. That wasn't anything in my vernacular. Now I find myself saying it twice in one sentence.
Yeah.
The Marine Corps, I feel like, is a melting pot of different accents and phrases, and you spend enough time, and all of a sudden you kind of get a little bit diluted, and at the same time picking up things from other folks you spend time around. But yeah, I'm from New Hampshire, and we definitely don't have distinct an accent as people from like Boston. And even people from Maine who get a little bit close to that Canadian border and start picking up some of those and
Yeah.
pause and
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I have a friend from Minnesota. It's basically the same. It's like, dude, you're basically Canadian. Last question for you, man. So you've shot with the team for a couple of years. If you had to put together a dream team, 4 shooters, yourself included, who would it be? Best chance of success.
I don't like for bullseye.
Yeah, bullseye.
Okay, you said 4.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, up at National, you got a 4-man cup. That's 4-man team match. First name always comes Chris Williams. Him and I,
Good man.
buddies. We were we were shooting partners this last season together, and for the Dogs of War 6-man team competition is pretty much the biggest competition of the year up at Nationals. We were shooting partners for it, and we both shot a 493 out of 500, and he got me by 1x. So he'd be my first go-to. He's just a really funny guy, and you can't really keep him down, and so you keep the spirits high on the team. Number 2, Shane Butler.
Hell yeah.
We were lucky enough to have on the team for like a couple years before he actually was picked up by the Army Marksmanship Unit. So anybody that shot with the Marine Corps and then was picked up by the Army, is a really awesome shooter. He actually just did really well out here for inter-service, placing 6th overall in the overall aggregate. And he is just an awesome guy, an awesome shooter, rock solid. Do that really well, put the team on his back.
Very passionate. Like he's extremely passionate. Everything he does, like he just pours his heart and soul into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you will never find that guy half-assing something in his life. Whether it's his physical fitness, shooting with the team, or even just time that he spends with his family. Like he is putting his 100% into it, and it's something that as a shooter has really served him well. And then finally, I think to really round out, especially with a little bit of the coaching aspect, Staff Sergeant Collier. He's a guy that I've known my whole time on the team. He came to the team permanently when I started my summer season, and I still remember my first summer season. He got placed 2nd overall in the President's 100, which is a really high-profile match at Nationals where you're shooting to be in the top 100 shooters to make the President's 100 out of thousands of people that are participating. But also, if you're in the top 20, you enter into a shoot-off at the 600, where out of 10 shots, you're competing against the other 20 people there, and it adds to the overall aggregate. So, you can start in 20th place and work your way up to a higher placement. You can start in first and drop down into worst. So Staff Sergeant Collier went into that and ended up finishing 2nd overall. And so to this day, it's something that probably the one of the most amazing achievements I've seen in person. And he took up the mantle of coaching this last season, and put the gun up and really did an amazing job as coach. It's hard with the rifle team sometimes when you have to pull one of your best shooters, if not your best shooter, off the gun in order to have a competent coach for the better of the team. And so the fact that he was able to switch hats like that, and also just put his personal personal wants and desire of doing well. I mean, he just got 2nd overall in the President's 100. This guy was ready to go back there and take first, but he put the gun up and picked up coaching and really put the team on his back for that entire season, and led us to an inter-service championship and a national championship. So those 4 guys, like there's a ton of guys that I could list in a team that I'd love to have alongside me, but those 3 guys, other than myself, are just some of the best. Love those guys, and shout out to Gunny Rhodes as well, as someone that would always have. He's a winner. Gunny Rhodes is an absolute winner of individual. I'm pretty sure his first Mick he double gold. The only one that he has double gold. And that guy, was on the rifle team my 7th CO. I got moved over to the pistol team and continued to just excel and succeed, and just an awesome guy, awesome family man as well.
Well, Pat, I really appreciate you coming on here. It's been an amazing time being able to serve with you on the team, see you grow and become, the person you are today. And just, it's been a pleasure knowing you, and I can't wait to see what the future holds after you get out of the Marine Corps. So thank you for everything that you've done for us as a team, and thank you for being such a great Marine.
Thank you so much. It really means the world to hear you say that, and thank you for being an awesome mentor, Gunny. I knew any time that I needed something like serious taken care of or help with something, yeah, you were someone that I could always go to and get help with stuff. And so it really means a lot to hear you say that, and thank you. It's been an awesome time on the team with you as well.
It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to see where we both end up after the Marine Corps. But
Absolutely.
listeners, thank you for tuning in. Let us know what you think. Tell us what you want to hear about, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.